Hey everyone, and welcome. So if you're a B4X developer and you've been looking for a way to add some, modern dynamic flair into your UIs, then you've absolutely come to the right place. We're going to dive into something that can totally transform how people interact with your apps.
So let me ask you, does your app's user interface ever feel just a little flat? Like it's missing that spark, that little bit of pop and interactivity you see all over modern websites? It's a super common challenge, right? But nailing those engaging experiences, well, that's what really makes an app stand out.
Okay, so what if I told you there's a component built to tackle this exact problem? Something that can literally lift your UI elements off the screen and, well, bring them to life. So here it is, the B4X DaisyHover3d component. And its whole mission is pretty simple, really. It adds this super responsive 3D tilt, this gorgeous shine, and a subtle shadow effect to your UI elements whenever someone's mouse hovers over them. It's all about grabbing that slick, modern feel from the web and pulling it right into your native B4X apps.
And this whole effect isn't just something made up out of thin air. It's actually rooted in one of the most popular and modern CSS frameworks out there, DaisyUI. So what that means for you is that you're getting an effect that's already been proven, it's polished, and it's a kind of interactivity that users already know and love. It's like bringing a piece of that awesome web framework right into the B4X world.
All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How does this 3D magic actually happen? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the core properties that create this really cool illusion of depth.
Okay, first up, we've got max tilt. Think of this as your main dial for how intense you want the effect to be. It basically sets the maximum angle that the element will tilt. The default is a nice, subtle 10 degrees. But hey, if you want to get a little wild and make it more dramatic, you just crank that number up. Next up is perspective. Now this one's really cool. The absolute best way to think about this is it's the camera lens you're using to look at the object. If you use a small number, it's like you're right up close with a super wide-angle lens. You get a ton of distortion and a really dramatic effect. But if you use a larger number, it's like taking a few steps back, which makes the whole thing feel way more subtle. The default 1200 is kind of that just right sweet spot. And this right here really breaks it down for you. You can see the direct impact of changing that perspective value. Look at 500. That's going to give you that super dramatic, high distortion look we talked about. Then you've got 1200, which is that balanced, natural feeling default. And if you push it all the way to 2000, the effect gets really subtle, almost flattening out the appearance. All right, another key piece of the puzzle is scale on hover, and its default value is 1.05. So what does that mean? Well, it means when you hover over the element, it doesn't just tilt, it also grows by 5%. Now, that might sound like a small detail, but it makes a huge difference. It gives the user this feeling that the element is popping right out towards them, and that adds a whole other layer of awesome responsiveness. Okay, so the 3D tilt is kind of the foundation, right? It's the core of the effect. But the real magic, the polish, that comes from the little details. So now, let's look at how adding some light and shadow really sells this whole illusion. I mean, just look at the difference here with the shine effect. When it's off, yeah, the surface looks fine, but it's flat, a little matte. But the second you switch it on, boom, you get this beautiful, dynamic sheen that literally follows the movement of your cursor. It makes it look like a glossy, premium surface and just totally elevates the entire feel of the component. And it's not just shine, you also get this amazing fine-grained control over the depth using the shadow property. You got 6 different levels to play with. You can go with XS for just a really subtle lift off the page, or you can go all the way to 2XL for this super dramatic shadow that makes the element look like it's literally floating. The default is large, and honestly, that's a fantastic starting point. All right, cool effects are, well, they're cool. But a truly great component has to be more than that, right? It needs to fit seamlessly into your app's design. And that, my friends, is where the deep customization options come into play. Theming it's just so simple thanks to this variant property. You can instantly change the background color using these standard Daisy UI theme names. So you need it to match your app's primary color? Done. Just set the variant to primary. Need to show a success state? Set it to success. It is literally that easy. Now, this is huge. The component gives you 2 really powerful modes for your content. The first is image mode. It's simple, it's efficient, and it's absolutely perfect for things like photo galleries or profile pictures. But then you have custom mode. This is where the real power is. It lets you put any other B4X view or layout right inside the hover effect. We're talking ultimate flexibility. You can build these incredibly complex, interactive cards with buttons, labels, you name it. Okay, so let's recap. We've got 3D tilt,
perspective, scaling, shine, shadow, and deep customization. Now you're probably thinking, this sounds amazing, but it must be a nightmare to code. Well, you would be wrong. You're going to be surprised at just how simple this whole thing is to put together.
Seriously, believe it or not, getting started is this simple. 3 lines. You declare it, you initialize it, and you add it to whatever parent view you want. That's it. Done. It's on the screen and it's ready to go.
And building on that foundation is just as easy. Remember that image gallery item we talked about? Well, here's how you do it. You set the content type to image, you point it to your image asset, and you hit refresh. Bam! You've got a fully interactive 3D gallery item with just 3 more lines of code. And that, right there, is really the main takeaway. You're getting this incredibly sophisticated, dynamic, modern UI effect, but the code to make it happen is just a handful of really simple, straightforward lines. That is the true power of a really well-designed component.
So, that just leaves one final question for you. Now that you've seen how easy it is to bring your apps to life with an effect like this, what amazing interactive experience are you going to build next?